Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. We thought, what a better way than a digital conference to have to use digital technology to bring Greg here from Facebook to be part of our presentation. We thought it kind of strengthened the presentation and gave you guys a little bit of a glimpse of using Facebook technology and using all the digital technology that we have to bring him to you in this presentation. So our topic today is driving sales with Facebook advertising. So I'm sure many of you have heard of Facebook advertising, but there's a lot to know about it. So we wanted to bring some of the ideas to you and tell you how you can use it at your dealership. We thought we'd introduce ourselves by showing you our Facebook profiles. If you can see from mine on the left, I got married last June, and I am a Cubs fan. So if we want to just forego the conversation and talk about the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series, that's okay. If not, we'll let Greg tell you a little bit about himself.
Hey everybody, my name is Greg. Thanks again for having me. I'm excited to present to you today and with Dena, help you understand how to drive a successful Facebook strategy. Like Dena said, my name is Greg. As you can see from my Facebook profile, I love drinking beer and seeing Dave Matthews concerts with beautiful views behind me. So we thought a great place to start would be really understanding the power of Facebook media and where the value prop sits in terms of advertising for your dealership on Facebook. So what you see here, essentially if you think of the main apps that you have on your cell phones, those include ESPN, Snapchat, YouTube, and more. The total time spent on those apps actually equals the total time spent on Facebook and Instagram combined. That translates to roughly 20% of total time spent on mobile over 1/5 of total time spent that people are on their phone. When you include our audience network, which is an extra advertising placement, we capture another 6% of total time spent on mobile, which in total means when you're advertising on Facebook and you get the reach that you can achieve, you're reaching people where they're spending over 1/4 of their total time spent on their mobile phones, which is astonishing. Taking that a little step further to better understand it, think of how many times people check their mobile phones on average per day. That number is actually 150 times. People are checking their phones 150 times, and they're checking their Facebook and Instagrams between 15 and 25 times a day on average. I'm sure some of you in the room are thinking, there's no way I check my Facebook and Instagram 15 or 20 or even 25 times a day. And while if I said that, I would completely be lying, partly because I work at Facebook and I'm on Facebook every second of the day. Think about if you are actually telling the truth and you don't check it that many times, how many times people are checking it to create that average. This translates to roughly 46 minutes spent, and essentially just means that people are on their Facebook and Instagrams for so much of the time that they're spending on their mobile phones. So this image kind of depicts the shift in how the entire industry is working. So if you see radio and television, you see those trajectory lines either flatten or start to decline. And as you look to kind of what's up and coming, you see digital and mobile going far up and to the right. Facebook, luckily, years ago invested in the rise of digital and mobile, and that's why our advertising products work so well on these devices and create such a good user experience for everyone where they're spending the majority of their time. So, as you probably know, if you click into the App Store, there are so many apps. There are more apps than you could ever know or even think to know. There's roughly 3.1 million. What's astonishing is that 75% of time spent on a mobile phone are spent in only 4 apps, and those 4 apps are all owned by Facebook. People are spending their time where they're seeing personal value and where they're happy on their phones, and that turns into time spent on Facebook, Instagram, and more. What you see here is, this was part of our last earnings call, and we released what these numbers actually look like. So there are over 1.7 billion monthly active users on Facebook, 1 billion active users on Messenger, another billion on WhatsApp, and over 500 million active on Instagram now. The value of this is just that when you advertise on Facebook and Instagram, you're reaching many people who are in your competitive landscape and people who can actually come into your dealership where they're spending so much of their time. So now I want to get into, that's really kind of numbers, the value of Facebook, why Facebook can be so powerful. Now I want to get into how we actually start to think about building a strategy and how your dealership can succeed on Facebook. And this is a pretty good place to start. So if we think about what used to be successful for dealerships, or kind of what was a thing of the past, people thought that initially if we're going to do this step by step, you create a page, you then try to get people to like your page and often pay for people to like your page. After they've liked your page, you then start to post engaging content, hopefully getting as many likes, comments, and shares as possible. And then the idea was that those likes, comments, and shares would translate into real business success. And so that mindset is actually what we're going to shift today, because no longer is it thinking that those social, quote-unquote, social metrics drive business, but it's actually taking your business goals and translating them into using Facebook advertising objectives to achieve those goals, and we'll show you how to do that in a really successful way. So my last point on this slide is that if you think about organic reach, that means when you post on your page, the reach that it can get without putting any money behind it. The reason it's declined so much over time is that if you look on the left side of this graph and you think about the size of a user's newsfeed, let's say 5 years ago, roughly when the newsfeed was created, the newsfeed was a certain size and could fit only so much content. That is a straight line because over time the size of the newsfeed can't change. It's just however far you can possibly scroll on your mobile phone. That's the blue line. The red line is the amount of content that's being posted and shared that can potentially fit into a user's newsfeed. 5 years ago, there was not too much of a gap between the size of the newsfeed and the content being posted. Fast forward to now, that line is far up and to the right. There's so much content being posted that we work hard to curate a newsfeed that is a positive experience for each user. For that reason, we try to make it as, like I said, as good of an experience, and we've actually recently deprioritized content from organic content from businesses and brands to help users still see that content from friends and family that they care so much about. With so much content and only so much space in the newsfeed, that's why the paid spots that are still in there will be so important for you to take advantage of as you build a successful Facebook strategy. Now this is where the advertising strategy essentially, this is the direction that it's headed in. What we're doing is we're not focusing on likes, comments, and shares or organic posting, but we're focusing on building a strategy where you're reaching, it's people-based marketing, reaching the right people with the right message. And what you see here is, for your dealership on Facebook, there are objectives to achieve every part of this advertising funnel, starting with awareness, through demand generation, acquisition, ultimately through the transaction, people buying cars at your dealerships. And then what you'll see in our life cycle is taking that one step further and actually reaching people after they've purchased a car and getting them back into your dealership. So I want you to think about this funnel and how we'll take Facebook strategies and apply them to your business goals and build essentially a full funnel automotive advertising strategy.
So thanks, Greg. So far, what you've learned is that there's a huge amount of power in Facebook. There are people spending lots of time on Facebook. It's reaching a wide variety of audience. So there's a lot of power in utilizing Facebook to your advantage. And if we kind of paraphrase what Greg said, it basically sums up to the fact that you no longer, as a business, can use organic reach to actually get to your customers. So if you want to be reaching them through the huge power of Facebook, you need to be using Facebook advertising. Now, Facebook's not dumb. They're in the business of making money, so this is very convenient for them. But at the same time, they have created a really powerful tool that you can use as a dealership to reach your customers on a place they're already using. So I want to show you some ad formats to kind of give you some ideas of how you can use Facebook advertising. If you were interested in setting up a campaign, there'd be kind of a 3-step process. The first would be choosing your strategy. So what do you want to accomplish? Do you want to drive website clicks to get more people to visit your website? Do you want to increase leads for a specific event or a specific offer? Do you want to create local awareness for people located near your dealership? Or do you want to just generate brand awareness, remind people that you exist? After you select a strategy, you want to choose an ad format. There's 4 that we're going to talk about today: carousel, slideshow, form submission, and video. And then the last is to choose targeting, whether it's using bulk data, which we'll talk more about, remarketing, lookalike, or custom audience. You want to make sure you're selecting your campaigns in this order. So the first ad format is carousel. You can see that you can showcase 3 to 5 images right within one ad, and each image can link to a direct URL on your website. So this is a great way to feature multiple brands that you carry, multiple images of a specific model, potentially multiple models that you carry. These tend to be some of the top performing ads. They're engaging for consumers. If the consumer scrolls through these images like you can see here, there's no charge to you as an advertiser. You're only charged if the customer actually clicks on the ad and goes to your website. The next format is a lead format. So you can actually have a customer click directly on your ad and submit their information right within the ad unit. So you can see in this example here, Greg was able to click on it, enter his information, and hit submit all within the ad unit. This is a powerful opportunity, and one of the coolest things about it is the information in the lead forms will auto-populate with the information you've given Facebook. So you can see here in this example, it auto-populates with like some test information because Greg uses this as a test Facebook page. But if his information were on this page here, it would be automatically filling in his information. So in many instances, all you have to do is hit submit. You don't have to actually give any new information. The next format is a slideshow. This gives you an opportunity to deliver pretty engaging, lightweight style video that tells a good story through photos. So maybe you don't have video content, but you like the idea of video, and you like the idea of telling a story on Facebook. That's where slideshow can be a great opportunity. You can see in this example, they start with a vehicle, then talk a little bit about the experience that you'd have at the dealership, and then close with the dealership. The next format is video. This actually brings your dealership to life using a video on Facebook advertising. If you have television commercials, using them on Facebook advertising is a great way to repurpose them and to reach a new set of eyes, or to just extend your message to a new location. Or you can create specific video content made for Facebook that's really easy to consume on a mobile device and really get someone to engage. So you can see in this video here, there's not a lot going on. There's no audio that you have to listen to, because most audio consumed on Facebook, or most videos consumed on Facebook, do not include audio. Most people don't click on it to hear what's happening. So a very easily consumable video is the best case. And the next strategy is local awareness. So a service offer here on the left is a great example of using local awareness ads. The ad here says, busy, call us and we'll pick up your car for service and drop it back off within 10 miles. So you would only advertise this to people who are within 10 miles of your dealership. So you know if they see it, it's applicable to them. And it's a great idea. That's so convenient for people. Many people would love to get an oil change while they're sitting at work and someone's going to come pick up the car and bring it back to them. So great opportunity to capture super local traffic. And then on the right-hand side, you see an event. It's a great way to tell the local community you have a grand opening, to tell the local community you're having some type of tent event or Black Friday sales event, and it's the most applicable to people close to your dealership. So those were specific ad formats or ad types. Now I want to share with you some targeting tactics or ways that you can use those ads to actually reach the right audience. So the most impactful thing that you can do on Facebook advertising is utilizing the bulk data. So Facebook partnered with bulk data a while back, and they actually have the ability to reach more consumers with more consumer information than many other targeting strategies. So using this bulk data gives you the ability to target people who you know are in the market for specific types of vehicles. So you may be a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealership, and you know that you really want to be pushing trucks this month. So you might target people who you know either owned a truck, are planning to trade in a truck soon, have a lease expiring on a truck soon, or are max in market to purchase a truck in the next 0 to 3 months. So that capability is available to you using Polk data. You could also target people who have a lease expiring on a specific brand in the next 30, 60, or 90 days with a specific message about trading in their vehicle. The next is custom audience. I've heard a little bit about this in different formats throughout presentations yesterday and today. And custom audience is a really cool tool. And one way that a lot of my dealers have been using custom audience lately is in place of a direct mail piece. Sometimes direct mail pieces might be the best option, but sometimes using a strategy that's similar to it but digital can serve the same purpose. So what you would do here is go through your database and pull out a customer list that meets a specific criteria, upload that list to Facebook, and target those people with a specific ad. So one example of this that a dealer of mine just started doing, and it's working really well, is they started pulling every single day people who missed their service appointments. They had a service appointment, they did not make it in. So every single day they send over that list, we upload it to Facebook, and the ad unit says, it's really important to be maintaining your vehicle. We see that you missed your appointment, reschedule today. They can click on that ad, reschedule their appointment. It's only been running for a short period of time. They've already had about 30% of the people reschedule their appointment. So it's a great, really inexpensive way to use your data to target people to get them back into the dealership. You could do it with a lot of different data pieces as well. You could pull people who have leases expiring, leads that are 90 days old. You could pull people who purchased from you maybe 1 to 5 years ago and offer them a trade-in offer. So a lot of really impactful capabilities here. The next is remarketing. I'm sure you're all familiar with remarketing. Someone goes on your website, they're looking at cars, they leave your website, they go on Facebook, like many people do, 15 to 25 times a day, like Greg mentioned. We have an opportunity to serve your ad to that particular consumer. If you pay attention, if you go on Facebook and you pay attention to the ads that you see in your news feed, you'll notice remarketing happening to you. Whether you looked at shoes, watches, vehicles, lots and lots and lots of advertisers are using remarketing because it's very effective. And the lookalike audience is kind of an extender. So let's say you're using remarketing and you want that list to be bigger. You want to reach more people. What you can do is use lookalike audience through Facebook, which will take a look at the behaviors, location, interests, and demographics of the people who already visit your website and find people that are similar, that have similar behaviors, locations, interests, and demographics to expand on that list. So it gives you the ability to reach people that are very similar to the people who are already your customers or potential customers. So to kind of recap, I know there's a lot of data. To kind of recap that, you want to first choose your strategy. Are you trying to get website traffic? Are you trying to get leads for a specific purpose? Are you trying to get local awareness around maybe service campaigns or just brand awareness through a video or something that just tells people about your dealership? Then you want to choose your ad format, whether it's carousel, slideshow, form submission, or video. And then you want to choose your targeting tactic, Polk data, remarketing, lookalike, or custom audience. And you don't have to pick just one solution. You can integrate multiple solutions. Maybe you want to receive website clicks using the carousel ad, using remarketing and Polk data. Those are options that you have. You just want to always consider what your strategy is first, because there's a lot of different options for you. I'm going to pass it back to Greg, and he's going to walk you through some good creative and some really cool, good examples of this being implemented.
Cool. Thanks, Dena. So first, before going into what this strategy actually looks like, let's talk for a moment about how you stand out and how you work with partners to have them help you stand out on Facebook. There's a few main points that you can kind of keep top of mind as you have these discussions. The first way to stand out, Facebook's actually doing for you. It's putting your content in context. Your dealership's ads are showing up above and below content that users like myself actually care about. You see a cute picture of your niece or nephew or your friend's epic vacation, and your dealership's ad is showing up right in between those. It's a terrific media consumption experience, and one that really isn't disrupting the user. Next, probably as you've noticed throughout this presentation, almost every mock-up that we have, even the pictures of our own Facebook profiles, is that it's all designed for mobile. Over 85% of our ads are delivered on mobile, and therefore it's important to keep that in mind as you create these ads and as you kind of picture the experience for a user. This includes having tight copy, a bold image, and an eye-catching headline that just gets users involved and is a good consumption experience on a mobile phone. On that same vein, it's important to have a strong voice and a strong call to action. Ultimately, with the ads that you create, whether it's a website click ad or a lead ad, you have a call to action on that ad to help drive a user to take that action. So on a website click ad, you can have a call to action like learn more, and they know that by clicking the learn more button, they'll be driven to your website where they can actually learn more about either your dealership or a certain car. With a lead ad, I'd suggest a call to action something like sign up. With a call to action like sign up, that user knows that you want them to click on that ad and give information, and therefore someone who's willing to do that will take that action and will generate a lead for your business. It's important to use rich creative. I think that that's something that we probably all know, but just something to keep in mind once again as you picture this experience for a user on their mobile phone. As a millennial myself, we constantly are scrolling through our Facebook and Instagrams literally at the speed of light. My thumb is scrolling up all day. Something that a term that we like to use is thumb stopping creative. It's something that as I'm scrolling up my Facebook and Instagram, something that actually gets me to stop my thumb and engage with the content. Whether it's an image of a car that you don't normally see, like maybe from the top down, or just something engaging or interesting that gets a user to stop. I think thinking about targeting, how we're targeting users so directly and reaching the right people that can come take action at your business, and coupling that with using rich creative, it's just a terrific experience for the user. It's funny, a story I like to tell is that I have a ton of friends who reach out to me and they say, Greg, I know you work at Facebook and you do advertising at Facebook, but I actually don't get ads in my Facebook newsfeed. And what's funny is that they actually do get ads because nobody doesn't, but they don't even realize it because they're targeted so well and they're seeing ads that just fit the experience, their Facebook and Instagram consumption experiences. Lastly, ultimately, we want you to squeeze as much value out of Facebook advertising as possible. And using our targeting, and in order to do that, you want to make your advertising as relevant as possible. Whether it's the season or a certain event that's happening, or just speaking in a certain user's language based on how you're targeting them, you want to make it as relevant as possible to have that user engage with that content and feel good about the ad that they're seeing for your dealership. So now here's where, if you haven't listened to anything that we've said up until now, zone in, because this is how to actually build a Facebook strategy and take your business goals, apply Facebook advertising objectives, and achieve them. So this is what an automotive consumer journey actually looks like. It's not just generating a lead, getting them into the dealership and buying a car. It starts from 12 months or more out from purchase. It then goes into when they're becoming in market, they actually now buy a car, and then as they're an owner too. It's all part of this consumer life cycle. So all the way from consideration to and through ownership, with Facebook advertising, you're able to target the right person with the right message. And so now what we're going to do is, we've heard about the power of Facebook media and the value that Facebook can provide to your dealership. You saw what these ad formats look like. You now understand how to best target and kind of think of a targeting strategy and how to stand out creatively. Now what we'll do is take an advertising objective and compare it to each stage of this consumer life cycle so you can actually see what it looks like to build a full Facebook strategy. No longer is this just a social campaign or like one small campaign on Facebook. What I and Dena want you to start thinking about is how to actually build a strategy and achieve marketing objectives through the entire funnel. So what you see here is the top of this consumer life cycle. For someone who's 12 or more months out from buying a car, your goal, your advertising goal, is to capture their consideration. What you see on the left is an example of a video ad, which is a great way to engage with users on Facebook who are watching videos all day and get your dealership's brand more top of mind. In terms of targeting for this stage of the life cycle, you want to keep it more broad. This is either maybe your DMA with a certain age bracket, or you can drop a pin on your dealership and, depending on your competitive landscape, create a radius that works for you, whether it's a 5, 10, 15-mile radius around your dealership. One other thing on this, in terms of targeting at this life cycle stage, Once again, like I said, I want you to drive as much value, squeeze as much value as you can out of Facebook's value prop. And what you can do with targeting is actually break out these audiences to better understand them and then ultimately speak to them in their language. So in this Denver audience that I created as I was mocking this up, you can see that there were 280,000 Hispanics and 670,000 millennials. The copy and images that you use to reach these audiences might differ, and on Facebook it's easy to create different ad sets that target these different groups specifically and run ad copy that speaks to a millennial that might get them to engage more with that content. So as we move through this life cycle, we're now 6 months or so out from buying a car, and it's time to follow through with in-market messaging. The ad type that we might use is, like you see on the left-hand side here, is a carousel ad. With a carousel ad, you can either showcase different features of a certain car or showcase different cars on your lot. So I've seen many carousel ads that showcase different lease offers on the lot that gets a user to start thinking about actual cars that they would come into your dealership and buy or lease. In terms of targeting, we start to get a little bit more granular. So in this example, we might use the bulk data, the in-market bulk data, that reaches users who they categorize as roughly 6 months out from buying. So what I want you to kind of understand here is that we're taking an advertising objective that shows users what they need to see at this stage, at this life cycle stage, and then we're taking a targeting tactic that also mirrors this life cycle stage. As we move one step further in this life cycle, these are users who are 1 to 3 months out from purchase. It's time to actually convert shoppers into buyers. And so a great way to do this, as you see on the left-hand side here, like Dena showed earlier, is a lead ad. As she mentioned, lead ads populate immediately within the Facebook app. It takes away the horrible, sticky, old mobile lead generation process. Often I'd click on an ad. If I waited for it to load, I'd click on small form fields that I'd leave because I mistyped. A big magnifying glass comes up. It was just a horrible experience. This auto-populates my user information, and often with lead ads, when I click on an ad, the only next button I press is submit. I rarely even have to edit my information. The targeting tactic here would be even more granular. So this is using max in-market bulk data, which ultimately reaches users that they categorize as 1 to 3 months or 30 to 90 days out from actually buying a car. And in terms of strategy for this lead ad, you can actually advertise for maybe a test drive incentive or anything else that gets people, that gets you their information and also gets them into the dealership. Now, at this point, we've all sold cars, and we're all loving our new Facebook strategy, but it doesn't stop there. What's important to think about in terms of this life cycle is that for your dealerships, it doesn't stop at the purchase. You want to engage with people who have already bought cars at your dealership and get them back in. So at this stage, it's important to influence next sale or get people in for parts or service. What you see on the left-hand side here is an example of a service ad where somebody can click from this ad and actually go straight to your dealership's website and schedule a service appointment. In terms of targeting, like Dena said, we would want to use a custom audience of buyers that you actually know to reach people who you know and who will come back into your dealership and start taking further action. So Dena told me that you guys will be getting a copy of this deck, and this is a good slide to remember how to pair these Facebook advertising objectives with your business goals at each stage of the consumer journey to ultimately build a Facebook strategy that's a lot more thoughtful and strategic than maybe what you've been doing before. So thanks again for having me. Sorry that I had to be digital. I've heard that, and it's also a one-way video, so I can't even see you, but I've heard it's a full room, and I hope that you've gained some value from this presentation.
So to kind of give one last recap to a lot of the things that we talked about today, there is Facebook capabilities that can take your customers through the whole journey. So it's not just reminding people who you are. It's not just capturing website traffic. There really are solutions that can bring someone all the way from awareness to consideration to actually submitting leads to even customer service retention. So there are strategies that you can utilize throughout the entire process, and we want to show you how to take advantage of those. If you're interested in more information, you could definitely check out L2T Media's booth. One of the great things about Facebook advertising as well is that many of the manufacturers have identified the power in it, And so many co-op programs will include it, specifically the Chrysler program, the Ford program. They do include Facebook advertising in your co-op capabilities. So it's definitely something, if you have not yet checked it out, you definitely should. And I know we still have maybe a minute or two, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, so Mario has a question.
Hi, Greg, and
Dena.
Hi. Real quick, when I'm creating an ad, sometimes what happens is if there's too much wording on there, I think it's 20%, I don't remember exactly, it says we can't use that. Is that something that could be changed in the future, or is that something that, can you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure, I can speak to that. So what used to be called the 20% text rule, now it's like a 20% text penalty. No longer are the ads disapproved, but the delivery is decreased. And essentially the idea behind that is that with every product that we roll out, it's never with monetization at the forefront. It's always what is the best experience for a user. And what we found is that ads that have more than 20% text, and I'm not talking about yours specifically, I'm sure yours looked great, often they can be a spammy experience for the user. And it's something that all the way from Mark down to our advertising policy teams, they decided that over 20% text in an image caused a little bit of a spammy, disruptive experience for the user, and therefore we want to decrease that to keep the creative kind of as fresh and clean and as good of an experience as possible for the user. So that's not something that will be changing that I see moving forward.
Any other questions?
Does anyone have any examples of how they've used Facebook advertising? Have any of you done it before? Show of hands. Finding pretty good feedback from it, pretty good results?
Good, excellent. Well, so what we'll do now, you guys finished early, so thank you very much. These guys are grateful for having a few minutes left in their life. That brought to you by Facebook and L2T Media. We appreciate that. So guys, we are officially on break and vendor showcase, but the other two sessions are still live. So if y'all will tiptoe back to the snack tables and just mill about, but just kind of keep, as you walk back that way, just keep your volume down till 2:35. That would be great. Greg, thank you.
I have a quick question for everybody. Since I can't see you, and I'd love to see what the dynamic is like in the room, Dena, do you have your phone on you by any chance?
I do not, but I might be able to get your face in here.
Or if anybody, oh there, I see you.
Hold on, let me turn you around.
Hey everybody. All right, good to see you.
Greg, is that your first trip to Lexington, Kentucky?
I've actually been to Lexington once before for during college for a UK game.
Oh, well, there you go. That's the right team.
You just won a lot of points.
Yeah, I know.
Cool. Well, thank you guys very much.
All right. Bye-bye now.